Yo, back with a tutorial. I've been getting a lot of requests about how do you get your beat to be so loud without clipping, and I've been getting a lot of comments about a new tutorial about mixing and updated version. So it's gonna be like a long tutorial where it may be short, but I hope to break down just some of the techniques I use nowadays. For starters, when I make music nowadays, I kinda already master the track before I even finish making the track, if that makes sense. It's like I put effects on a master chain before I even finish making a track, just because I just want it to sound a certain way while I'm making the track. It really doesn't matter what structure, what order you do it in, as long as you do it the way that I show you, or just take the advice I give you and just apply it to however you want to apply it. I'm not saying this is the way to do it, I'm just showing you how I do it. So this is one of my most recent tracks, and now my mixing style hasn't really changed from the previous videos that I made on YouTube about like a year ago or 2 years ago, however long it was. I try to follow the same concepts. The drums are always the loudest. It's just the kick drum. And then the snare, and then the hats are usually close to the main melody, and then for one hat I usually pan it to the left, but this one is already panned. I usually pan my hats to the left, but this one is already panned to the left, so I didn't do it. But I panned this one to the right. And okay, for the updated stuff about mixing, lately when I use drums, I put a limiter on them just to make them punch a little harder. It originally sounds like this. But after I put the limiter on it, it sounds like this. And I got the levels up so the kick drum will hit harder. Just turn it up as loud as you want to. Just, achieve, by all means, achieve the sound that you're trying to achieve. And then I use this preset. It's just for drums. It makes every drum hit harder. I only recommend using these presets if you're gonna make like, this style of music, like electronic. I wouldn't dare use any of these presets or this type of stuff when I make beats, like, tight beats and stuff like that. I did the same thing with the snare, And then I added a little saturation to it, and just a fast distortion. I just pulled the knob down. It's really nothing too complicated or extreme going on. It's all the same foundation of just simple mixing. And got sidechain right here to the kick drum. Here's the bass, sidechain, and then just a EQ. See, it's nothing complicated at all. And then stereo width just to make it wider. Okay, so the synthesizer is next. By the way, this is nothing but Flex. If you got the latest version of FL Studio, you have Flex. All of these sounds come from Flex. I put that sidechain effect on it. That's how I sound without it, so please put it on. And it's the exact same thing with the other instruments. Everything is literally the same in the mix. It's just you use these just to give it space, but everything is almost at the same levels, and it's just not that complicated at all. Try to keep everything around the same. I don't know, like, okay, so my first melody was like around this area, 9. So my next one was 9. That's all you see. They were all like the same pretty much. It wasn't really anything off or different. I don't think I should jump straight into. I mean, I'll come back in and refine what I'm about to tell you right now about how do you get your beats, or how do you get your, your master so loud. When I make electronic music, I master it. It's not even mastering, because I don't even essentially call it mastering. I just call it polishing. I use Maximus. I don't use, if you know me by now, I don't use too much of third-party stuff like Isotope or all of the other big brands, because for one, I feel like if you learn how to do it with one tool, you know how to do it with all tools. So I try to use stock plugins as much as I can, because it just, further expands your knowledge on what you're actually doing versus using pretty stuff and not knowing what you're doing. Maximus is very powerful if you know how to use it. It's just I'm very comfortable with using Maximus versus using other stuff. So when I load in Maximus, the first thing I do is just listen to it. If you take a look, I always have solo on. If you take a look at my low end, I boosted the low end and I compressed it. Then I go to the mids. I didn't really do much to this section. All I did in this section was turn the threshold this way, and then turn the ceiling this way, and then made it wider right here, see? Then I did the same thing for this band. It's nothing different. Just turn this one all the way up to the left and this one all the way to the right. What this does is it makes this little band right here crunch more. That's the best way I can explain it. It hits harder basically if you turn this threshold up. The more you turn this first, you got to turn the ceiling right here all the way up. And then the more you turn this to the left after turning this to the right, it hits harder, and that's without it. And like when you turn it on, and then with the master, I just compressed it a little bit, and that was it. I didn't even just compress it a little bit. Loud. See, this is what it sounded like before. This is with Maximus. I guess for like the video purpose, I should go ahead and probably show you how to do it from scratch. So I'll load in another one for you. It won't be perfect because I'm doing it on the spot fast, but I'll at least try to show you, walk you through it. So when I open up Maximus like this, default. It sounds alright, but it still sounds terrible to me. It's a lot of things I do to it. For one, I hit solo and I go straight to the low end. I only want to hear the low end. I don't really want to hear the the mids, like the melody that's going on. You only want to pretty much hear the bass. And then what I did from there was turn it from peak to RMS. I think RMS stands for something master. I forgot the words, but I just know it hits hard if you turn it on. So after that, I just turn it up, and then I compressed it because I just know when I need to. I did the same for this channel, just RMS. That was literally it. Now to answer your question about how do you not clip when you how do you get your music so loud and not clip on a master, it's just simple button right here. I reset it and show you. So as you can see, I was just clipping. When you turn it on, it just barely turn it on and it stops it. And that's literally it. And then if you want the track to get louder, just mess with this pre-gain or post knob. Just a little advice. If you have compression on, when you turn this knob up, it will compress. If you don't want any compression, you just want volume, just use this knob. It's no compression. This one compresses, this one doesn't. Only if you have compression on, though. If you have compression off, this knob won't even be turned on. And that's like literally it. It's the most simplified version of how to do it this way. When it comes to electronic, I do all of my tracks like this. What I'm gonna do now is just continue to show more mixing stuff. I'm probably gonna have to make another video about how to mix beats because I want there to be a series about how to mix multiple genres, so you don't just have to know how to mix beats, you can know how to mix other things as well. Who cares? Just another tutorial just showing you about the structure of how to just get sounds to sound good just the way you want them to sound. That same mindset that I talked about on the first video, on the first example of how to basically go about it, it applies to any style of music you make. So as you can see, they're both at the exact same, not the exact same levels, but they're similar. Then you got one going left and the other one's going right, just for balance purposes. And then you have the chord. Now I have the chords actually a little lower because I wanted to balance with the other ones. And then you have the kick and the snare, which is the loudest. And then Maximus is essentially the same thing. Not every single track is going to be the same, but you go in with the same mindset of this is how I'm going to finish this track. So I boosted the low ends, some compression, stereo width. You know, I made it hit a little harder with this threshold and saturation ceiling. No compression whatsoever on this one. I turned the compression off by just grabbing this and flicking it all the way up. RMS. And then for the high end, it was the same. There you have it, man. It's a mixing tutorial and a Maximus tutorial in one. You don't really see too many videos like this. I'll show a track when I'm not using Maximus, but I'm still using the exact same methods to master. Not even master, I call it polishing because I'm not essentially mastering. I'm just getting stuff to sound the way I want it to. Alright, so just to prove my point, to make it as easy to understand as possible, basically all you do is when you make a track, your drums are always just, those are the dominants. You see, for this style I didn't use any effects. This is still like electronic, but it has more of a hip-hop influence, so I knew what type of sound I was trying to achieve. I wanted a hard, thumpy sound. I didn't really want a hardcore, fully on electronic sound. Okay, now let's get that bass. Oh no, that's the pulse wave arpeggio. Alright, so look at this. This is the most important part. I forgot. I'm probably going to leave a timestamp somewhere in the bio about this. This is very important. That guy who kept asking me that question about how do you make your beat so loud without it clipping, it's this right here. So when you click on a track, you can pay attention to this, but this is not important. This is just the individual track. You need to be paying attention to it, to what it reads on the master channel, because it can be totally different here and totally different here. As you can see here, it's right here. on this one is right here. So basically, this track right here is going above 0, right? So on my master channel, if this is already going above 0 and I boost the volume on my master channel, this is going to start clipping because it's already over 0 over here. And it's not over here, so you're basically you pushing it, you boosting it. So when you're asking me how do you get your stuff loud without clipping, just make sure it's not anywhere near 0 on the master channel, on a master fade. So like another example, let's see, this hat. You see on this channel right here, it's like right here, but on the master channel it's right here. And you see that. If you lift it and boost the volumes more, it'll go to from being here on this channel to being here on this channel, but this one will go up if you boost the channel. So I'll just show you this. Look. See, I made the volume louder on the master channel. But as you can see, the volume stays the same here, but it changes here. That's basically what I'm talking about. So if you're using a bass, if I replaced this hat with a bass and I did the same thing with the bass will start distortion. And the track would get muddy and it would start clipping like terrible. Just pay attention to that when you mix. If you can avoid that, you know, you can get your tracks to sound as loud as you want them to. And then for this track, I didn't use Maximus. All I did was use a stereo enhancer because I wanted it to sound wide, you know. I needed to sound thick. So I just turned it to the side. And then just use the EQ, turn these off, and boost this one and boost that. That was really it. So when I make EDM, electronic music, I told you I use that preset for the limiter, and then for the bass drum, I think I just turned the volume up a little more. Now this track right here, it was actually different. I did a little bit more of an advanced technique where I threw the rest of the drums on the drum bus, and then I put effects on the drum bus just to make the drums hit harder. And then everything else is the same. The same method for Maximus, just I did more compression on this one, less low end, more of a soft knee compressor on the mids, and more of a hard knee for the high end. Stereo separation, and then you got the saturation. I don't advise you to use saturation on the low end. It can make the low end sound muddy, but for some reason with this track I did it. That's basically it. Yeah, that's basically it. I hope this video helped. It's been over 2 years since I dropped a pretty decent tutorial. So,